Hi, everyone. Carmine Denisco here with the Launch Network. Awesome show coming up. Finally, we got a great show here, the UIA Workshop Series, Season 2. We've been doing an awesome shows here. Hey, Warren, let's bring them on. What's going on, man? We got some great things happening.
This is Season 2, Episode 9. This is our 19th, Carmine, it's amazing. It's our 19th educational program for the UIA. Over the spring and the fall. It's awesome. It's been absolutely awesome.
Yeah, got some awesome guests. Yeah, you will get a lot of feedback too.
Yeah, the numbers are growing every week, and the content's terrific. And yeah, we're working on a lot of good things. So even though, it's funny this year, even though the world kind of shut down, thank goodness for Zoom and our reach out and our following and all. And it feels like, business as usual. So
yeah, no doubt. I've been watching on social media. It seems like when you share something, you got a lot of people. They're just sharing it out. I mean, I got information on this show, this particular workshop, like 5 or 6 times on my feed.
Our guests have been awesome. The pitch panels have been terrific, and our show today is going to be awesome. I can't wait to get to our guests, but it's just really great content, and they're really in depth too. And I know you can sometimes do these things for 5-10 minute videos, and you get a little bit of fluff out there, but we really get into depth. I mean, if people hang in there, and by the way, if you have to go, we understand. Just come back to the UIA website, uiausa.org. All of them are in our library and our files there. You can watch any of the old shows, and then Carmine, you and I have done a lot of shows together before that. So we've got another couple dozen educational shows, and please go back and check out the content. And we really get into depth on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And these are from people that are top in the industry. This isn't just, we're grabbing somebody to talk about it. Some of our guests are really the guys in the industry.
Yeah. We don't hang with people. So it's a privilege to come on. So, and I'm already getting people who want to be on the show in the spring or, after the first of the year too.
That's
so
great. That's awesome.
Cool. I'm actually just completing an unbelievable licensing deal with Lifetime, and the engineer is an optical engineer involved in eye things and has teams all around the world. And he wants to come on, and people are watching the show, and they want to come on. And
that's awesome.
We got Marcy, right? She wants to come on. So anyway, it's going to be fun. We're going to keep this going for a while. So
cool. All right, cool.
Yeah, but let's get to today's show. So Carmine, we're going to turn you around today, and you're going to be one of the guests. But before we reintroduce you, because everybody knows you already. So
I'm nervous.
Talk about manufacturing. But it's my pleasure today to introduce to the UIA community, Chris Guerrera. And Chris is a really good friend based down in Greenville, South Carolina. And first, Chris, hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Warren and Carmine. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And I'm really excited to, I know you well, and I know your background. I'm particularly excited to introduce you to folks that maybe you don't know yet. And once they hear about your background, they're really going to fall in love with what you do and what you bring to the table. But before we get there, you're in South Carolina. And what the heck? You got a giant Saquon Barkley jersey right behind you.
Yeah, I full disclosure, let's talk about the Carter jersey first, okay? I'm a Vikings fan first.
Okay. All right.
My heart does bleed with the Yankees, but and because of my family, I'm a Giants fan second, but let's not confuse the Vikings first.
All right. Well,
50 years of pure pain, just so you know.
I see a lot of sports memorabilia, baseball bats, and so anyway, well, we appreciate all your sports interests. But I want to introduce Chris as this show today is Made in America, but Chris really is a Renaissance guy in our industry and does a number of different things. But today, we're really going to tap in, and we're going to have him back on other subjects in the future. But today, what we really want to tap into Chris is his background in manufacturing. And what a lot of people don't realize, and when I met Chris first, I met him a couple times before I realized he has an unbelievable background in serious, big time manufacturing in America in plants, car plants, auto plants. The car I drive, he probably oversaw its production. And I really want to get him to talk about that a little bit. So maybe we'll start there. We're going to get into Made in America. We're going to get into why manufacturing in America is great. We're going to get into the grassroots details of what's going on now. But Chris, I'd love you just to introduce yourself, a quick bit about your background, and then just tell people about your background in the automotive fields and other manufacturing plants you've been
Yeah, sure, Warren. I'm happy to do that. So I'm an engineer. I spent quite a bit of time in the design engineering field early on in my career, then got into tooling and really went into operations. And I think from a standpoint of when I say my career catapulted and changed, I was working for Ford Motor, a division of Ford, and we did a lot of fuel system and suspension components, which I had 4 plants at the time that reported into me. I spent quite a bit of time doing a 1/8 turn gas cap that I'm on that patent as a chief design engineer, which ended up in the lobby of Ford Motor Company. That was pretty intense. And from there, I went to BMW and truly became the Lean Six Sigma guy that I am. I was trained all over the world. I spent time in France and in Germany and China, Japan, Brazil, Spain, but really engulfed in learning Six Sigma and then bringing it back to the manufacturing plant, because what BMW typically does is compare all their plants as one unit, and they compare them against each other. So I'm up against people in Mexico for the best plant in the world, where your labor cost is a lot lower than your cost would be in the US. So we had to find ways to really improve the process and eliminate cost to maintain that competitive edge. So if I was a little bit higher in labor, I made sure my purchasing costs were better or my operational costs were better. And at some point over a 3-year period, we went from a ranking of like 34 out of 36 plants to number 3, and then eventually became the number 1 plant. So you can only imagine what that's like, sitting in a corporate meeting with 500 executives, and I'm the number 1 plant.
Well, now let me back you up, because I want to hear more about that. But what when you started at Ford, like, what did you start a training program? How did you get involved with?
No, I started as a design engineer, so I was doing a lot of design CAD work. Really involved in finite element analysis, which I really love. Back in the day, I don't want to date myself too much. Back in the day, the big CALMA systems had the big screens and the tablets, and you're typing with your left hand, hitting the tablet with your right hand, and drawing up on a screen. To some point where it became laptop size. So it went from that paradigm to really designing on a computer, and I spent quite a bit of time doing different types of product designs for suppliers of Ford, and then my name got out there pretty well, and I started getting a lot of different offers with different companies, and something about the BMW one struck me. I took a trip down and saw the plant. It was unbelievable, and it's ironic at the time.
South Carolina, right?
Oh yeah, in Greenville. The plant is, at the time it was 50 cars a day, and 200 people. The interior group that delivered to the assembly plant. Today, it's where I'm back now in Greenville, is over 12,000 people, and if you drive down 85, they've added on. I think they do all of the X's now. They've added on to the plant. It's like over 2 million square feet. The entire highway 85 is and the Greenville area is absolutely, it was blowing up in the 90s. Today, I just can't tell you how incredibly nice.
What do they make there? I know they make the X5s, X3. I know
X2, they make all the X's, X2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now the 7.
Which is the SUVs for people who don't know the model.
Yeah, it's all.
And the X-Men.
What's that?
The X-Men too.
Yeah, no kidding. When I was there, we were doing the Z3 that converted to the Z4 and the new X5. And that's when, it's a funny story, because that's back in the day, the X5 was late to the market, right? Everybody said, it's never going to sell. Everyone's got an SUV. You're too late in the market. It's an executive vehicle. It's high end. It's going to cost too much. And so BMW called it an SAV, activity vehicle. So you can also drive it off-road 60, 70 miles an hour. But, okay, the moral of the story is, look how many X's there are now, right? It's blown up. So that whoever said that they were too late to the market obviously didn't have a clue.
But
they're the largest exporter in the world out of Carolina right now.
Wow. So all those X models are shipped around the world. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, there's right-hand drive, left-hand drive. There's all these different options. Different lines, there's an X2 line, X3 line. They have a plant that they build just for the X3 and X4. So it's big, but like any other plant, they still have the same problems from 20 years ago.
Now, Chris, listen, how they have that program. You can go to Germany,
Mm-hmm.
drive the car around Europe and then ship it home. Now, can I go down to South Carolina and pick up my next X5, maybe save $5,000 or something?
I'm sure I could hook you up.
All right. And then drive.
And, being friends with the president, I'm not throwing any names out here. Canute Floor, if he's watching, hey Canute, the president of BMW, I'm sure I can pull something for you.
All right. Well, I've had 4 X5, so we'll be on the phone later, bro. Anyway, so listen, let's stop right there for a second because that's great background. Carmine, we're going to get you in on this conversation a little bit too. Tell us a little bit about your manufacturing background, then we'll start to get into some real lessons for today.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no problem. I'm kind of scared at following Chris there because he's got a lot more experience in the real deal manufacturing than I do, but I've always been a product guy. Started in the early 2000s with products of my own, with inventions and items, and made a lot of mistakes, which is good. I made them on my own stuff, just like all of us inventors. Learned from my mistakes. Worked with manufacturers around the world. Everybody thinks about just China, but there's manufacturing all over the world in Asia, Canada, Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, there's so many different places to make products. And I really started to explore those different places and different technologies and knowledge. Each country has knowledge on different types of products. And I just learned from there. I love making products. I love solving problems. And, I am same thing learning from Chris that there's so much better ways in which to do things that you can constantly learn from your mistakes and make things better.
Absolutely. And do you, now I know you so sometimes you work with inventors and you have the products made here in America, or you decide together where you're going to have them manufactured?
Yeah. So we always look at the product, we diagnose it, see where the best place to make that product will be. Like if it's a big heavy product, we'll look to either US manufacturer or maybe Mexico or Canada in some cases, because obviously it's real heavy. It's got to come across the border. We always look at tariffs and taxes and shipping costs. So really looking at the product, diagnosing it, seeing what technologies have to be implemented, and then going out to those different countries or different factories and being able to really cherry pick the best of both worlds helps me in my manufacturing practice.
Absolutely. So Chris, getting back to you, before we start to jump into specific examples, Chris, listen, a lot of times I'll see your name, and then after your name are all these letters. And they look like some Roman letters, they start with L and then
it's like the Super Bowl. Yeah.
And so tell us about those letters and what you did to earn those degrees.
Yeah, those are some painful letters because it's it's a whole lean process. You start with a yellow and you work your way all up to a master black belt. So in the BMW world and truly becoming a master, you had to implement and facilitate in 6 different countries. I've spent hours and days and years of learning how to truly do Lean Six Sigma at the highest levels in different countries. And then with that training, I had to bring it back to the plant and implement it. So then you have to go back and teach, 800 people at the time in that facility in the interior group, how to do a single minute exchange die. So how to change tools quickly. And we can talk more in detail about that, but a 2.5 hour tool change, capital equipment sitting idle, you got to build inventory banks. Well, now if you can do it in 10 minutes, you can build to order, right? And it's how you organize it. So there's value streams and how you look at cost on the line and how you associate labor when you assemble products. So a lot goes into it. There was a lot of time for me to ring those check marks. And I'll tell you, when I first started to do it, I questioned, like, what more could I possibly learn? I'm running the plant. It's, at the time it was a $60 million plant and eventually became a $180 million plant. But there was so much going on in a growing environment, new products, new designs coming in, changeover model years. And now I have to add another thing to my list. But I look back now and I am so grateful that I did get that opportunity to learn it, because everything I do now, I use Six Sigma. I use the Lean 5S, 8 weights. I use it all.
You have such a serious background. And so one thing that I'm always, chuckle about, is in our industry, people sort of come in, you're not sure where they came from, and next thing they're experts. you come with this ridiculous amount of it. This is not like sourcing a product or putting together a deal with China or something. This is about you actually being in the plant, on the line, and doing it. And so maybe I know one of your experiences that you put to work in a very practical sense that maybe people can relate to, because cars are big, is you went up to the Oneida plant in New York, and that's obviously consumer goods, and you turn that whole assembly around and all. Talk a little bit about that and lessons that an inventor may pick up on what they should look for on the line there.
Yeah, I as I was telling Carmine earlier today when we talked, I try to break the initial dive into lean very simple. 5 S's, 8 ways. What are they? You go to a plant, and I've been doing this a long time. You go to a plant, and people want to do the right thing. But when you watch people walking around the plant, I mean, in some cases like Oneida had too much inventory. They had 55,000 square feet of floor space for manufacturing. It's 3 different floors. So you can only imagine when you look at value, when you do a value stream, there's so much waste in that process. And then you quote a 12 to 16 week lead time. I look back and I go, okay, who's buying and waiting 12 to 16 weeks? Over a 3-year period, we got this down to
flatware. It's flatware, right? Flatware.
It was air system control from really small, simple items that you can use, like a shop vac, right up through big companies like Ford and BMW and GM use them off the back of their plants to administer the filtration of air. And you try to break it down as simple as possible. You look at 5S, right? You got to sort what you need in the cell, the work cell, and what you don't need. Then you got to set it. You set everything in order, right? And then you really got to make sure it's organized. And it starts with the people. It starts with training everybody, because you go too deep into Six Sigma, you go into too deep in some of these videos and these spaghetti charts and value streams. You start losing people, and if you lose them, you'll never get them back. So you got to start really simple. Everybody wants to do a good job. I start with building relationships, understanding what people who work in the environment understand now what they need, and then start putting in systems and train them in the system. And what you find is everybody wants to do the right thing. They start really abiding to it, and it becomes a little bit of a contest. You have contests between shifts, between departments. You actually have 5S scores. In this case, so just for you golf guys, in this case, the higher score is not good. That means you have more points against you. You want, world class starts going in at 40 out of 100. You start getting to 20, you are doing things amazing. Like when you walk into a plant, that's another thing me and Carmine discussed today. You walk into a plant, the first impression you get, right, is everlasting. It's hard to change. I would say if you're a good kid and you do, people forgive you. If you're a bad kid and you finally do something right, nobody cares, right? So it's the same thing with your first impression. You want to be sure that what they see is what they get, right? So we look at that and we do data. So yeah, before state, after state, you have data before, data after, photos before, photos after. Then you start assigning leaders in the plant. And it's amazing when you get a group of people doing the right thing the right way, how fast things move. Sales go up, bottom line improves, and everybody's happy.
That's awesome. So, all right, well, hold that thought right there. Carmine, let's switch over to you for a second. Tell us a little bit about the experience, because we're going to come back and fold this into what Chris's background is. Here with the inventors in America and who are watching the show today, do a lot of them come to you and say, hey, I want to have my products made in America? Or do you work with them and determine where you want to go and so forth? Tell us a little bit about the inventor experience.
So yeah, one of the greatest experiences that I have, and that's what's so great about having not only the UIA behind us, but Chris, and being able to reach out to people. I'd say 80 to 90% of the clients or people that reach out to me, not only just for questions or just need my help, would like to have their product made in the United States or the USA. It's very important to them. It's a sense of pride, as Chris and you have talked about in many places. And a lot of times it can be made here. They just have to have the right product, the right information. They have to know that there are going to be certain parameters that they have to hit to make that product here. And that's, again, one of those things that I work with those clients about. Some products just aren't good fit for the U.S. It's just how it goes. There are better countries that can make some products, but the majority of them can be made in the U.S. And that's why it is so great to be having somebody like Chris to be able to reach out to.
So Chris, let's throw it right back to you. So listen, you have your own products that you've brought to market, and then you help other inventors. So tell us a little bit about that experience. And do most of those products, are you making them here in the U.S. or what's the process?
Yeah, I make everything in the U.S. I mean, literally everything, including the resin that the injection mold sees. To me, can't be part in, part out. You have to be all in, and we're all in. But before we get to, let me tell you a little bit about the sophistication of when you do something in the U.S. That whole misconception of it's more expensive, that is absolute not true. And I prove that in and out with my models. When I look at BMW, right, talking about live broadcast, they make sure all their suppliers are 30 miles around them. You get a car that falls off a stacker, that you have a live broadcast notice that hits the assembly plant. So if it's a door panel or an instrument panel or a glove box, you literally have to pull they usually send about 20 to 28 vehicles at a time. You have to pull what's needed. So you have to pull from the warehouse what's needed for material to the assembly line, build it, put it into an assembly rack, put it on a truck, deliver it to the plant in less than an hour and a half. By the second hour, it's on the vehicle. So if you can just picture that for a second, the intensity of having the right inventory, not having too much inventory, having good process controls, having the quality standards met through process, not inspected in, but they're met through process, and then delivered to a plant. And when that operator pulls the door panel, it's there. They put it on the car. If not, the line shuts down, and the business side of the plant gets charged $1,100 a minute.
Wow.
You can imagine the stress level when that happens.
Wow.
So I take that level of detail and I bring it to what I'm doing now. Nothing.
By the way, do we do a better? You said you were number one plant. Are we good at that? I mean, in America, are our standards as high as anywhere in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's based on inventory management. It's based on quality, and it's based on purchase goods. So those three have a direct effect to how you deliver and the cost you deliver it to. So it's not like these are made up numbers. These are the same numbers that you have to achieve. Like in quality, it's PPM, parts per million. You can't cheat that number. It's what you're shipping against what your defect rate is.
Right.
Okay, so it's a standard across the world. So when I take that to the U.S.,
yep.
I take it the same way. I've got suppliers that are local to me. Especially in an injection molding facility, we're injection molding in the plant. We're typically molding to order, so you're not building inventory, because I always I'm not an inventory guy. If you bought it over yonder and you wait 90 days to get it, and now you have a quality issue, two things have to happen. You have to rework it, which is cost, or you have to scrap it and start over, which is a whole other element. So typically build to order. We have suppliers local, so in cases where the demand is fast and we have to deliver quickly, if we have to have somebody drive a truck to the plant, they do. Not shipping it from California, it's driving it 30 minutes. So another important element. And then we look at all of the process controls so that we can eliminate any type of waste. So on labor, and this is where we get competitive on labor, we're able to mold. When we're molding, the labor that's already applied to that cost for molding, now we're using it to do value add on the outside. So if there's stickers or labels or pads or boxing, anything that has to happen on the outside of the machine while it's molding, there is technically no cost. I call it free labor because you've already assigned that labor to the part as it's molding. And it goes into a box, onto a pallet, and out the door. While I'm looking at the quality is being checked every piece that's coming off. If it's a destructive component where we got to break something, we send it off and a quality individual comes and checks it every 10 pieces, every 100 pieces. But we know that what we're shipping is always right. It's not coming back. And I can tell you, of all the products that I've shipped, I haven't seen anything come back from retail. on the quality stuff that we've just recently shipped.
Wow.
It's at the lowest possible return rate you can have.
But how do you,
it's critical.
How do you do that now? Do you spend time on site? Are you do you have obviously people that you trust that you work with? I mean,
any new product that I launch, I'm on site, so I'm helping set up that whole lean process.
Really?
I have people on site that I work with that are trained in lean and understand lean, and they know what my expectations are. So it's like anything else. I told this to Carmine earlier, the best sign of a good plant manager is one that can leave the plant and it will run as good as when he's in the plant. Right? You don't have to be there because systems are what control the quality. You're actually building quality into the product through your process, and you're not inspecting it in after. That's a big deal.
So do you have relationships with a number of factories, or do you go out by need and find them and put them through their paces? How do you go through that process?
Yeah, it all depends on what the product is, but typically I partnered up with a facility that I use primarily in New Hampshire, my hometown. And I have several other in New York and even in Carolina that I use. There's a size and tonnage requirement based on the size of the part. Some plants have that capability and some don't. So the ones that I feel most comfortable with that have those capabilities always get the first crack because they truly do understand the process that's required to deliver a part at low cost, high quality, and the fastest speed to the market.
Cool. Well, now I'm going to take a break there, go to Carmine. I want to come back and talk about some of the specifics like Tidy Hook and some of the things you're working on. But Carmine, so tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got into that through your connections with Home Shopping Network, and how you eventually, started off on the product end and then started into manufacturing.
Yeah, that's a good question. So back in the early 2000s, I ran into him one day, Mr. Bob Circosta. If any of you know who that is or that name, he was one of the main people that started up HSN. He has actually sold the first can opener on the radio. And if you didn't know that, HSN actually started on the radio right here in Clearwater, Florida. It was on a radio, and he ended up selling a few can openers and sold out of can openers. And him and his partner said, man, we might have something here. So I ran into Bob and, worked with Bob for a number of years. And after a while, I realized that there were so many good products that just weren't a good fit for HSN, and the people were devastated because they would send them away saying, hey, we need, but those products could go and be sold to retail or on Amazon or different places. They weren't good for HSN, which is a very specific type product. And a lot of them weren't ready. A lot of them had the idea. They had a prototype, or they just had one version, or it wasn't ready for be manufactured. And that was really what I wanted to do. Was I always liked making things, always liked fixing problems and manufacturing and doing prototypes, even with my own products. So I started taking on some of those clients and working through, and that's kind of how it was born. I just, I really love making products, manufacturing, and cut my teeth. Like I said, making mistakes, finding the right ways to do this. As Chris had mentioned, finding the best way to do something, not only at a good cost, but to be able to make that best product possible is so important.
Now, how did they find you? How do your clients find you? Or how did they, in the beginning, how'd you, was it all through Bob? I mean, obviously he has a big, following and so forth, but as you went on your own, do just people search around and eventually they come to meet someone like yourself?
Yeah. It's one of those things that, whoever has the loudest voice, I think people will follow in some ways. And I've always been able to have the loudest voice. When I'm kind of like you, Warren and Chris, we're passionate about certain things and we really talk wholeheartedly about it. And I really saw that inventors were not only being led in the wrong direction with certain books and certain types of things, but, they just didn't have all that information. So they would go in that direction. And it just drove me so crazy. So I really started having a loud voice. I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted people to get their products made in the right way so that we're able to sell to retail and HSN, QVC, Home Shopping or Amazon, just in the right place. So I think that's one of the biggest things that drove me is that I saw inventors just getting the wrong information. And I love supplying them with the correct information that I thought would be beneficial for them.
Well, good for you. So Chris, let's turn back. So let's go through this quintessential American experience. Let's use the Tidy Hook, okay?
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about how you came up with the concept. I presume you patented. I'm not sure entirely, but how you started to develop it, and then how you've gotten it to market. I know you've tested in a number of places. I know you're selling, I think, at Walmart now. Tell us just about that whole American supply chain from your brain to shelf.
Love this product. Love it.
So I'll start with showing you the Tidy Hook fits on the side of the seat around the headrest. So it's the only one that fits, only type of compartment or storage bag in the vehicle that fits on the side of the seat. That's number one. So a lot goes into that, right? Design-wise, Vernon's spent a lot of time. Vernon's my partner on this. Spent a lot of time developing it, designing with different colleges. When I finally decided that if he went to China and on this one, it just would have been, he would have lost for so many reasons, from an inventory standpoint, from a time to market. And we had problems with the material that would have just completely killed this product. So when you look at this product, right, a lot of work went into this living hinge. This thing will mold and fit around any vehicle under cold temperature and extreme hot temperature. So when we first started out on this, the big part of it is this clip, right? It's got to snap around the headrest and it has to fit various sizes. So the first material we used, which was pretty much a straight polypropylene, which at low temps was cracking. So here's to my point. This was made abroad and you spend $100,000 sending over inventory. There's a good chance that this would have failed in the field. And this is not repairable. This is you're out of business failure, right? So we were able to go in the plant. We made some changes on ring gates so we can get this to flow a little bit better. We changed the material so that no matter what temperature, we got this down to minus 150. So if you're at a minus 150 in your car, you're dead, right? And the Tidy Hook will still perform, okay? Always good to know. Yeah. On the high end, 250, this will continue to snap, no cracks. We did finite element analysis on it. We did material evaluations in the plant on site. We had probably 7 different variations that we were testing, from colors to different ethylene blends. There's a whole mix to a point where this thing is now as robust as it gets. When I was on the phone on a Zoom buyer meeting with Walmart, I told them all the testing I did. And the last thing that had to be done in Walmart's eyes after we went through and did all of our packaging, you know, it's all 5 feet, it's all ready to go, 5 seconds. We got PDQs. I said, we can't break this. It's indestructible. And you know what that sets up, right? Well, we're going to let you know if it's indestructible. We're going to do our own testing. I said, well, you do it and let me know how you make out. Well, I'm onboarding it now for Walmart.
That's pretty cool. So now Walmart in particular, Chris, right? They look for products made in America, right?
Yeah, they have a whole section now. That's what they want. This last group was their initiative. It's all made in the USA. And I presented quite a bit, and I've got quite a bit of interest in it, and they love it. I thought these Zoom meetings were really, really good in that. You know, I was there in Bentonville in February live, and it's easier to show these things, you know, show packaging and how it works live. But I had to put together this nice presentation, videos, able to show the product, and the message was clear. Cost is, you know, as you know, in Walmart, cost is competitive, right? This part has to be made cost competitive, or you won't sell it, right? That's part of the competition. So I go back to low cost, high quality, and speed to market, and we meet that in every criteria. Now, we're doing injection molding, right, with value add. Do some assembly. You got to really look at the assembly, make sure that it's truly leveled and it's balanced, so that as the machine's running, you still have some labor to put into the assembly, and you can meet the demand. There's always that consideration when you look abroad versus here. But we've been competitive, and we've been delivering, and the quality on these things, you know, they come with some high-level bags. You know, you've probably seen the Tidy Hook bags. These are all like heavy duty. The mill rates are not in the market. 6 gallon for the auto and 10 gallon for the home, which is another different version on the home. Again, lots of work went into these things. These clips, right? Heavy duty, you can't break them. They'll fit over anything. They snap in. So lots of design work went into it. You'll hear the click. And lots of material considerations.
I love that you created your own bag for this thing.
Yeah, it's a separate market. So we sell bags as well. you can use your typical grocery bag, but like Warren, if you're driving around an X5, I'm not sure you want to spill any soda on the carpet because those bags will break. These won't. You know, we have a black one, we have a white one. They will not break.
Hey, Chris, Warren's got a Maybach.
Reusable.
Warren's got a Maybach. Don't let him mess you.
You need a place to hide your weed, though.
And the beauty of these, you can like take them for your kids. You can put drinks in one side. I made this thing again symmetrical. It fits on either side of the seat, right? You can use them in the back bucket seats, front bucket seats. It's easy for the driver as he's driving to reach. Kids in the back, gives it a new compartment. The spacing in the back. You can sit in the back seat, and this will sit, as I showed you, on the side of the seat. So you haven't lost any space.
Now, the bags
that wasn't being used.
The bags, Chris, they come from a different plant, or
yeah, they do. Yep. But they're made in the U.S. They're actually made in Carolina, ironically enough.
So you
in Greenville, South Carolina.
But now you source them, and then where do you pack them in? Up at the main plant?
Yeah, everything's shipped to Amherst, New Hampshire. The bags were tricky because a lot of people say they're made in the USA. You really got to do your due diligence on that and check it. A lot of them are brought in from overseas and assembled or done, and some things are changed and added to in the US. This bag is literally made. Everything's made in the US. Packaging, the resin, the assembly, and the bags, all of it is a made in USA product, 100%.
That's awesome. So Carmine, I want to hold on one more second because I want to come back to you with HSM. But Chris, one of the things I always think about is when you go to China, it seems like you have to up your quantities, especially in the beginning, to pack containers and to make it, efficient, shipping wise. That's something that you can avoid here in the U.S., right? I mean, you can do.
Yeah, Carmen and I spent a lot of time on that. That's a big deal. Again, going back to building. If we had built these out of the original material, let's say in China, and he spent $100,000, they came in and these clips were breaking, it's over. You're not getting a second chance. You can't fix that. So we're able to build to order in this case. We have 2-cavity mold, and we can duplicate that as we need it. But we can produce 55,000 a month on one size. We can so based on order, you can put a tool in, do your run, and all of the value-add assembly is done and shipped all within 2 or 3 days. I mean, it's a pretty efficient process, and it's the cost on this is exceptionally low, and we've done a lot of homework. Vernon did a lot of homework on this living hinge, and we perfected it with the material. There's different thicknesses and different radiuses so that it will conform to any side of the seat, and it will never crack. And these are all key elements. Once you ship that, it doesn't come back.
No, I love that. I know what a living hinge is. I had a saucepan stirrer years ago. I never heard the term before, but I'm very familiar with it when the paddle goes in the corners and so forth. But we heard about Walmart a little bit. I don't know if you have any unique stories about Home Shopping Network, which is in your neighborhood, or other retailers that you deal with. Are there other people that have Made in America programs, or how does that received when goods are made for retailers that, where they're manufactured?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, most big retailers have some type, and they're following suit. Usually when Walmart does something, or HSN, or one of the big guys do something, others will fall into place. Target has a Made in America thing. HSN had a Made in America thing. I don't know if they're still doing it since QVC bought them out, but they did. A lot of the retailers do that. It is just very tough, as Chris had pointed out, to get the products that they want made, inventoried at a good price. So they have to run competitions and things like that to really look at the products and make sure that they can deliver the inventory. A lot of us inventors, when we have a prototype or just one version, we think we're ready to sell to a retailer. And in fact, we're not. And that's the biggest thing is you have to be ready or have run manufacturing to really start approaching a lot of these retailers that want America, Made in America products.
Absolutely. So Chris, what about the packaging and the design of the package? Do you do that yourself? Is that all American done? Do you have American designers?
Yeah. Let me tell you. Let me just feed off of Carmine a little bit. Think about this, right? If you're in China and you have to build out some product, right? You need a tool. I'm always getting quotes, 12 to 16 weeks tools, or to get them over to the U.S. We're quoting in the plant. 8 to 10 weeks. And I know most of the time we get them done quicker. All right. Then you got to think about, like you said, how much inventory do you have to build to fill a crate? Then you got to ship that to make it efficient to one of the coasts, right? Then you got to freight it in somewhere. You got to freight it into a warehouse. That's cost. Then you got to warehouse it somewhere. That's cost. Then you got to fulfill it. That's cost, right? All of these things, I think a lot of people leave out. Those are all additional costs that you have to absorb. That to me, I consider that non-value. Trucking something from the West Coast to the Midwest or the East Coast is non-value. As opposed to now me building these, right? Doing the design work, building the tooling in the same building that you're going to injection mold it. So any problems you have, it's instant on site. I mean, filling 22 inches of plastic is not an easy task. And we had some problems early on. We ended up going with a different ring gate to solve that problem. And by the way, this is patented in the US, China, and Europe. So it's got patents all over the world, essentially. Then we're able to produce it in-house. I can build what I need. I don't, as one of the 8 ways, I don't have to overproduce. I can build what I need with a little bit left over as sample retentions and to do first piece articles and dimensions and some of the destructive testing. And then we put it in a box and we put it on a pallet and ship it. Gone. So you're invoicing it within days, not within months. Right? Because retail already has a problem with cash flow. You're out 90 to 120 days before you get paid. So think about that and having 90 days from abroad that your cash is tied up. So you're talking about 6 months. So there's so many more benefits I see as doing it in the US. Wow. Packaging, yes. We went through 3 iterations on packaging. So we started with one early on with a package size about the size of the Tidy Hook. Because we weren't that convinced yet that we could bend it and it wouldn't take a set until we finished our testing. Well, now we've got all that done. So now we ship this inside a box, that's bent. It's got 2 bags tied down with a band, and it's beautiful. It fits in a PDA. We did all the graphics in-house. Love those big made in USA. Right? We did all these little symbols in the back. So again, not to make it too busy barcoding, but enough that if you're standing 5, 6, 7 feet away, catches your eye, you want to come over to it, and you can quickly see it's a device that sits on the side. And we'd say it, right? Fast and easy clip-on installation, only side of the seat bag, designed with 6-gallon bag, built for the driver first. And then all of the other features. So when all of this was done, we can do it in low volume. I don't have to build 100,000 of these. I can do 1,000 if I wanted to. Buy some tooling, that's it. You can do 5,000. Okay, the cost is a little bit different on the lower end than it would be if you built 100,000, but it's not enough to take a risk and to tie up all that cash.
All the inventory. So I believe a customer makes up their mind when they walk past the product in about 1.8 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
Whether or not they have interest in it,
Right.
So forth.
Well, I think even for me being at Walmart the first time, I was able to explain a Tidy Hook. It's not an easy sell, right? You have to convince somebody they have a problem in the car and that they want to be organized. But then you start selling some of the other features about going on a road trip for a soccer tournament, lacrosse tournament, football. You can take the bag off, right? It doesn't have to stay on. You can put your drinks, you can take your lunch, and you can take the bag with you. Use it and then bring it back. Or you can then take the home and use it on one of the tents with the same bag. So you've got 2 spots now. Now you got a place for trash. So there's so many options. And for me to have the flexibility of having it really produced in the US at a great cost and being able to deliver on demand is amazing. The Super Potty Trainer is another great product. We're even now doing it in different colors, but this one is a beauty. This one, we had 2 weeks to get this out. There was no label. We didn't have the silicone feet designed or developed yet, which is the most critical point and component of this, because it allows a child to sit and potty train without the seat moving. That's the biggest fear the child has, is falling in. Then we had to get the resin. We did all of it, including the display case box, which is normally a 6-week item. We did all of it and shipped it in 2 weeks.
Wow. So Chris, so tell me how do you work with inventors? How do they find you? And please, let everybody know your email or whatever.
Yeah, so just to go Tidyhook. So it's simple, tidyhook.com, superpottytrainer.com. Those two products, you can see a lot about those. Me, I'm under Guerrera.com, Chris Guerrera.com, or paceimpact.com. Both websites have the Pace is a little bit of marketing and manufacturing. Chris Guerrera is really how I get involved with inventors, and I'll work with you from the start, from designing right through delivery to retail, and or coach you in between. So it all depends on where you are with the product and how much work is still needed to get it launched. And I even do licensing stuff. I work with guys like Warren and Brian and Jim and guys that are in the field doing this all day long. We kind of work as a network and as a committee.
Now I'm sure you have to be selective. When an inventor comes to you, what do you expect besides honesty and hard work?
Yeah, the honesty and hard work it's automatic. I mean, the trust thing, I use the line a lot. If you can't trust your mother, you can't trust me. It's really that simple. So that's already for taken. It's automatic. So I like to see some design work done, right? It would be nice to have a proof of concept, some type of sample that you've done some work on. Because if you don't, then you're all over the map, and it just becomes a money pit. And I'm not looking to do that. I'm not looking to waste my time or their time on money pits. I like to take an idea that's got some merit to it. Certainly, plastic components are absolutely great. They really mold themselves and meld themselves to good assembly practices. But something that I could really take a look at. It's nice to have drawings like step files, CAD files, the .stp file, so we can then take it and look at it and look at it in 3D and see if there's some changes we could make. And then we could take it from that step all the way to the end, right? From that concept through tooling, molding, assembly, packaging, fulfillment, and shipping.
Cool, especially if folks, to repeat it, if you really are one made in America and you want to pursue that route, that's a great thing that you bring to the table, Chris. So Carmine, maybe we can flip you around a little bit too, and I'm sure some questions have been coming in. Do you want to pick up a couple of those off there? And
yeah. So one question that came in for Chris, and this he probably gets this a lot. If a product, say a product like just a plastic injector product or something like that, comes to you, but you aren't able to really make it in the U.S., where would be your next, and this just came in about 2 seconds before Warren did this, where would be your next choice of making a product?
Yeah, I like you say, it can't be made in the U.S. I need to know what it is, because I'm saying you can make it in the U.S.
Well, not that it can't be, but there are some products, obvly, that aren't feasible to me.
Yeah, I don't normally get involved in going abroad. That's just not what I do. I'm about keeping jobs here and keeping USA. That USA. I'm all about America, but I can put them in contact with other people that I know who actually handle some of that. But I don't typically do that. I don't have a need to. I have enough products coming my way that can be made in the USA. I'm confident I can do it. If it's,
Chris, you have to learn how to say UIA. That's
UIA, USA, UIA.
When we get back someday and we start having dinner again, like in Vegas, sometimes we leave the restaurant with the UIH here. So, Carmine, there's probably other questions, or maybe if you'd like, also you could give people, how to reach out to you as well.
Yeah. So one other question was kind of along the same lines that came in, how I look for different countries to make products. And as I said earlier, I always look to the USA first. It seems like, and Warren and Chris, you guys probably get this a lot, that all of us would love to see products here made in the USA. Sometimes it's not feasible. Sometimes you have to go to a Canada or Mexico, Guatemala. And it's just over time building up trusted manufacturing teams out there. And I please any of you inventors that are out there listening, don't just go out to Alibaba or find somebody that you believe is a factory and start talking to them thinking that they are a factory. Most likely they're not. Talk to somebody who's trusted. Join the UIA. Jump in, talk to Chris, talk to myself, and we will love to point you in the right direction for that all-important step of manufacturing your product. It could make or break you, as Chris has pointed out.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because, I obviously deal a lot in the licensing side, and a lot of inventors pursue licensing because obviously it's lower risk, but then again, the rewards are lower commensurately. I mean, usually when Chris, do you partner with folks? I mean, is there a split? I mean, you don't have to talk about the specifics or whatnot, but obviously there's some risk involved. There's more risk involved, right? So someone's going to put up capital for this and so forth.
Launching a product is not for the weak. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of capital. And, in the Tidy Hook and in Super Potty Trainer, I did partner up and invest a lot of my time in cash, but I don't normally do that. I certainly will give the inventor or whoever it might be that needs guidance an understanding of what each step costs. And without seeing it, I don't typically quote it, right? Some guys come to me and say, I got this quote from a picture. I'm like, who quoted that? That someone sent you a photo of a product and someone quoted it? Yeah, I don't work like that. Like, I'm working in reality here because that quote's probably not going to be accurate. I'm certain it's not. So I'm happy to quote out each step, and because, if you don't have packaging, you don't know what's going to end up like, but I can use scenarios that I've already had and roughly what it costs to do it and what a stamping die would cost and what the ultimate end package would cost, as like in tooling. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with injection molding, the size of a part, the typical drop size. I can quote it to pretty quick, but it's good to have. If you have a design, you have drawings, I can quote you roughly what it's going to cost, so you understand the amount of capital required to truly launch a product.
But do some of your clients and people you work with, do they come with, resources and funding? Do you work with angel investors, or do they work with angel investors? There's a variety of things.
I'm all over the place on that. It's a variety. Some have no cash and a lot of dreams. Some have lots of cash and want to move forward. But I always tell them up front, product launch is not for everybody. As Carmine said earlier, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of adjustments and tweaking that goes on, and there's a lot of cash associated with launching product. And then you have to get into retail, right? If you're looking to do that, then you have to have a marketing group and websites. I mean, I get involved in all that, so I can provide full service. But it definitely is there's a cost structure associated with it.
Well, tell me a little bit we're gonna have fun now. Tell me a little bit about the personality of the inventor and what you expect from them and how you work with them. Like I get a lot of calls on the licensing front, and it's not long before I have a certain, I expect people to be honest. I expect them to be polite. I expect them, to give me the scoop in a short amount of time. I expect a whole bunch of things. What are you looking for when an inventor comes to you, so that people listening today can get a feel for how to work with someone like you?
Yeah, I like to hope, I like to think that the person is completely invested in it, not just with these wild thoughts, because until you get it on paper or until you get some type of structure to it, it's just an idea. I mean, which is good, but it doesn't go too far, right? Because a lot of people have ideas that never take off. But the inventor has to have some passion behind it and really some reality behind it. I've had somebody ask me if we can get something into retail in 6 weeks, and it was on a yellow sticky sketch. I thought they were kidding. They were dead serious. So to me, it was like they truly didn't have any idea. Like, they weren't educated at all in the field. And that's fine, but it's not reality. I want somebody that's going to work with me and understand nothing's quick in this business, right? It all takes time. I certainly feel like Made in America, the way I do it, I can get it to market faster than anybody else. I feel like I'm incredibly competitive on cost, but there has to be a reality check on where you are with your current design and how does it fit into a manufacturing cycle, and and really the length of time and capital it takes to launch it.
No, that's good. That's good stuff. And let me just, we may have other questions, but every time you speak, it makes me think of something else. So you and I have been very involved in Make 48, which is a terrific television show on PBS and a series about developing products in a short period of time and so forth. Tell us a little bit about Make 48, your experience there, and how you've helped people on that show.
Yeah, that's been really a fun show for me. I mean, I think I've only not been part of the 4 or 5 that they've had. It's been a lot of fun, and I've always, every time I go, I meet new people. I mean, it's been great, and the teams that are so energetic. I mean, think about 48 hours, right? You show up, someone tells you, here's the category, and now you have to come up with a solution for that category in 48 hours. Now I've sat on the focus group a couple of times, and to me, it's about halfway through. It's like the 24-hour mark where you get to tell them. They pitch you. You know, you get 4 or 5 minutes. They pitch it, and you get to tell them what you think if they're going the right direction or not. And I always like to start with, it's a great idea, right? It looks good most of the time. Have you thought about cost? Because you can have the greatest product in the world, and if you don't have the right cost structure, nobody's going to buy it. So I try to always, coach them in that direction. Think about the entire cycle, not just solving the problem, but if somebody's going to buy it, it's either going to be through an online network or through a retail channel, and retail is competitive and need to make sure the cost structures are right. So what I find is they really listen, and it's so exciting to see the changes that they make. And when they present the final product, there's some of your thoughts and your ideas that you had showed them went into it. Right. And it's the simplest ideas sometimes that just, it wins the battle, because it solves a problem that has been around so long, and becomes cost effective, and it's easy to market.
Yeah, we're testing one of the items on TV right now. So,
great.
It's amazing, Chris, when all of a sudden you take that product and the prototype and you shoot a commercial for it, and you blend in all and all of a sudden it comes to life, and you go,
wow.
Yeah, crap, this thing was an idea. So,
Warren, when you say that, I think about, I always tell an inventor, it is the coolest feeling in the world when you start with something that's on paper, and then you walk into retail and you see it on the shelf. There's a feeling I can't describe to you, because it's not an easy task. It takes a long time, a lot of getting after a buyer, but to finally walk into like a Walmart and see it, it's unbelievable. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So,
yeah.
So Carmine, do you want to add in here, or any questions you want to throw in here, or a little of your own experience, because we're getting towards the end here?
No. All good stuff. Everything that Chris said, I agree with. It's so important. All of the things that we're talking about for inventors to listen in, go out and get as much help as possible. And I agree with Chris. It is the coolest part. I even love seeing, I did some backpacks for a client, and actually saw somebody wearing one of these backpacks in the airport. And of course, I walked up to him and started talking to him about it. They thought I was like accosting them, but it's so exciting to see a product that you've created, you made, and it's sold, and then you see somebody actually using it. It is a lot of fun to see that, and I wish that for every inventor to really experience that one time.
I had that experience in Ireland once when we launched Mister, which we used to make up in Connecticut, Chris, up in Bethel, Connecticut. And I was in Ireland. We stopped late one night after golf to eat dinner, and the proprietor asked me what I did. Well, I said, I'm working on this project. It's called Mister. He goes, well, what would that be? And I go, anyway, blah, blah, blah. You know where this story's going, right? So he asked me, and I'm answering the questions and all of it. He goes away, and about 3 minutes later, he goes, it would be looking something like this. He says, I was in New York last week. I saw it in one of the stores and bought it and brought it home.
Wow.
But anyway, well, this has gone really quickly. Chris, Carmine, give your names and how to reach you one more time for everybody.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so for me, it's my name, chrisguerrera.com.
And,
awesome.
He's involved with all these things, Tidy Hook, Potty Trainer, Pace, all these other things. Or reach out to the UIA and we'll connect you with Chris. Carmine?
Yeah, no doubt about it. UIAUSA.org. Check them out. Definitely join if you are not a member. You can contact me. All social medias. You can see me online all over the place. CarmineDenisco.com or earmarksourcing.com. Any questions you have, reach on out. And if I can't answer your question, what's great about the UIA is that we will find somebody who can. That's about the main thing that we could talk about here.
Yeah, and Carmine, I don't know if you want to spend another minute, but let's talk about that the Made in America podcast you and I started. It's another great tool for people to learn how to make their products in the USA.
Yeah. Listen in, subscribe to the Made in America podcast. We'll definitely be talking about something really cool each week. And if you have some stuff, let us know. We'll try to focus on it.
Yeah. And again, if you forget all this stuff, just reach out to us at the UIA and we will connect you properly. So, hey, Carmine, thanks always for hosting. Chris, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Very cool. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening in. Mr. Warren Tuttle, I appreciate everything you do. Mr. Christopher Guerrera, thanks for jumping on today. And we will talk to you next time. Same bat channel. You all take care.